Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to cover another real-time example in SAP CPI. We're going to talk about a real-time example called Invoice Handling Interface. I'm going to explain how you can create this interface by using email adapter, DropBox adapter, and Azure Blob adapter. Let's begin. As always, the necessary material for this interface, I have uploaded it to GitHub. The link is in the description. Download the material and practice it. Let's now talk about the business requirement. I'll try to read this out for you. Try to understand what is the business requirement, what is the business problem, and what is the business process, and what are the systems involved, and what is the data that is being exchanged, and what are other conditions from the customer. So here is the requirement. We need to streamline and modernize our invoice processing operations at OOBE Corporation by executing the extraction of invoices from email attachments, PDF, XML, and zip, and securely storing them in a DropBox and Azure Blob. We aim to significantly reduce manual data entry, enhance accuracy, and expedite the accounts payable process. All the zip files should be stored in Azure Blob, and both PDF and XML files should be stored in DropBox. This integration not only improves efficiency, but also ensures compliance with financial regulations while accommodating our global supplier network diverse invoice formats. The inclusion of an error handling mechanism further minimizes the risk of overlooking invoices, allowing our finance team to maintain control and efficiency in handling incoming invoices, thereby supporting our organization's financial health and growth objectives. And what is the rationale and the business benefit? The rationale is to automate invoice processing, reduce manual effort, and enhance accuracy by implementing the SAP CPI integration. This will streamline operations, ensure compliance, and improve efficiency, while the exception handling mechanism will help maintain control and support our organization's financial growth. If you understood the requirement, go to the next slide. Otherwise, try to pause the video here and read the requirement as many times as you can until you understand the business requirement. Now let's try to draw a high-level integration flow. Take a white sheet of paper and pencil. Now what we'll do is we'll try to design high-level integration flow based on the business requirement. And let's place SAP CPI in the middle because this is the middleware we're going to use in this integration. Let's now talk about the sender systems. As per the business requirement, vendor systems are sending emails to SAP CPI. So in this case, the sender system is nothing but a vendor system, which is a email server. So now draw a line between sender system and SAP CPI. In this case, we are using mail adapter or email adapter between sender system and SAP CPI. Let's now talk about receiver systems. In this scenario, we have three receiver systems. One is DropBox, the other one is Azure Blob, and the third one is another email server. As stated in the requirement, if the email has PDF and XML as an attachment, then we have to send the files to DropBox. And if the attachment consists of zip file, and the file should be stored in Azure Blob. And if there is no attachment in the email, we have to notify the support team by using an email. So the third system is a support email server, and we have one sender system and we have three receiver systems in this scenario. As you can see, scenario 4 has a similarity with scenario 3. If you already covered scenario 3, you can cover the rest of Azure Blob integration in this scenario. But if you're completely new, you can watch this video from here on. Let's now directly jump into SAP CPI implementation. As you can see on the screen, I already implemented this integration process in SAP CPI. If you notice, this integration process flow is very much similar to the high-level diagram what we just draw. As you can see, we have one center system that is number 1, and we have three receiver systems that is 2, 3, and 4. In the middle, we have integration process where we try to do the message processing, conversions, and data transformations. Let's now talk about each and every component in detail. Let's talk about how you can configure receiver-side DropBox adapter in SAP CPI. First, log on to DropBox. Here, you can see the main dashboard of DropBox where you can create different folders and files. As you can see in the screen, I created a folder called outoftheboxea. This is where I'm going to store all the files that are received from SAP CPI. Now to integrate DropBox with SAP CPI, you need to go to a different URL. It's a developer portal where you can create all the necessary configuration for DropBox API. So in this screen, you can see you can create an app. For example, when you create an app, it will give you all the necessary details for API integration. So I already created an app called outoftheboxea demo. So if you open that app, so you can see different tabs here: settings, permissions, branding, and analytics. So if you go to the settings, there you can see the app folder name, where the files will be stored, and you can see the important thing is app key and app secret. On the right hand side, you can see the security material screenshot from SAP CPI, and you need to place those values in a SAP CPI like that. So first you need to give a name and give authorization URL and token service URL and redirect to URL that you could get from service key. And the main important thing, you need to add a client ID, which is the app key, and client certificate, which is app secret. Okay, so these two are important parameters, and then give the username of the Dropbox. Okay, in the redirect URL, you need to give the redirect URL of the SAP CPI. And if you go to the permissions, there you can actually give the permissions necessary for the API integration. Here I have given only write and read. File permissions, you can also give different permissions, but for this demo we're going to use write and read permissions. Okay, and branding, you can also add some branding information of the server and details, but I'm not going to change anything like that. And analytics, basically you can see how frequently the API is being called, how it is accessed, and all the analytics for the API calls. You can see it here. Okay, so we have settings, permissions, and then and we have let's go back to settings. So this is actually the app that I created for this integration. Okay, so I'm going to show you now how you can create a security material. Go to SAP CPI monitoring, security material, and now click on create. You can need to create auth to authentication code. Okay, here you need to enter the name as I suggested and give the authorization URL, which token URL, which is standard, and this is the redirect URL that you need to use also in Dropbox. Okay, and then so already created, click on this and then give the client ID and client secret. So these two parameters that you get from Dropbox. So give the provider as generic as I explained, and then client ID and client secret, and give the username of the Dropbox. Once this is done, so click on deploy. Okay, then click on the button authorize. For example, when you click on the authorize, SAP CPI will try to call the OAuth of Dropbox and try to authorize your request. Okay, then when you click on this authorize button, so click on this authorize, click on this authorize, what happens is it will try to log into the target server. It will generate a token for you. So now you should see this message: if there is successful authentication, now you're good to go. So the communication between SAP CPI and Dropbox is done, so you can use this security material in your integration. So I'm going to use this in the demonstration now. Let's talk about how we can configure receiver side Azure Blob storage adapter in SAP CPI. Let me start by explaining what is Azure Blob storage. Azure Blob storage is a cloud-based object storage service provided by Microsoft. If you're working with Azure, then you're already familiar with what is Azure Blob storage. Basically, by using Azure Blob storage, we can actually store and manage unstructured data. For example, we can store documents, images, videos, and other types of digital content. In this scenario, we would be storing all the zip files that we receive as part of invoice emails. Let's now concentrate on how we can configure and implement Azure Blob in Microsoft Azure, then how we can configure in SAP CPI. Before you want to create anything on Microsoft Azure, you should have a valid account and you should have valid credit. Once you have your account set up, then you can start creating artifacts on Azure Microsoft. I will now show you how we can create Azure Blob in Microsoft Azure. First, go to the portal.azure.com. Once you log in, go to Home. You can click on storage accounts, or you can search for storage accounts. Storage accounts. So click on the storage account service. Now I'm going to create a new storage account. Click on create storage account. You need to give the subscription, which I already have, and you can also create new resource group. I'm now creating a new resource group here. Resource group underscore out of the box EA. Any name, you can give any name in the resource group. For demo, okay. This is a resource group. And click on OK. I need to give valid storage account name. So let me give a valid account storage account name here. Out of the box EA. So basically I cannot use any underscore, any special characters there. So basically I want to give storage account SA out of the box EA demo 4. So this is a valid name, so which is being accepted. Now click on the next, advanced. I just want to keep the settings as it is without any changes. You can read them and see what is the right setting for you, but for this demo I'm just keeping them as it is by default. So all of these advanced settings, we have access protocols, blob storage, Azure files, and I want to have a hot profile here, and networking I just want to keep the default as it is. And now go to the data protection. Here also I want to keep the same standard settings, and encryption remains the same. So here actually you can see enable support for customer management keys. I want to have all the services or blob only files. You can read the documentation there by click on the button I there. So it will explain what is the purpose of the setting. So I just want to keep blobs and files only. Now review. Now this is the final state before creating it. So that is a subscription, that is resource group and storage account name, and then just click on create. So basically it will take some time, a few minutes. So it's going to create a storage account for me that I can use for my integration. So deployment is in progress. So once it is done, it will notify you once the storage account is created. So this is a resource, storage account SA out of the box EA demo 4. So that is a storage account name that I would be using in SAP CPI adapter configuration as well. So deployment is completed. You can click on go to resource here, or also you can also click on the notification menu. Now you can see these are the details. If you go to the overview, you can see all the details of the storage account, what is the resource group and subscription and all the details, and subscription ID and other details here. Yeah, so all the details here. And if you go to the containers, so this is there's a default container that is logs, but I want to create I want to have my own container. I'll create that later. So we can have containers, file shares, queues and tables here. So you can see the logs is private, so that is anonymous access level is private there. Now go to the portal again. So this is the resource that I already created. Now click on that. So let me go back. Sorry, this is the storage account that I created, and take this, copy this name because I need this for my SAP CPI configuration, and keep them in a notepad. You can see security and networking, and goes to the keys. Now I need a key because I need this security key to authenticate myself to access the storage account. So copy this key. So basically you can show and copy the key here and paste it in the notepad. So save it for yourself. So you need storage account name, container name, and key name and password. Okay. So here what I've done is I created a security parameter. So basically here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a security material to connect to blob storage, give it a name, and give the security name and re-enter the security key here. Okay. So create the security parameter and then give it a name here, some name, for example, blob shared access key, and you need to paste this key there that you copied from the portal. So just copy paste 2 times. Okay. Then deploy. Once you deploy it, the security material is deployed in the tenant. So it is deployed and is ready to use in the SAP CPI integration adapter. Okay. So we're gonna use that parameter in the receiver adapter of the Azure Blob storage. So open this connection, and you see here I have used shared access key here, and I use the security key that I just created. Okay, so this is how you create the Azure Blob storage account in Azure, and this is how you need to set the settings. Okay, next I'm going to show you how we can use Azure Storage Explorer. Go to Google, search for Azure Storage Explorer, search for it, then open the link from the Microsoft, and you can download based on your operating system. So I have Mac here, or you can also use Windows or whatever OS that you use. So once it is downloaded, basically what you can do is you can open it. Basically this is the Explorer that you can use to manage the content on the storage account. It is an optional task for you, but if you want to explore more how the blob storage is managed in Microsoft Azure, then you can use this tab. Now click on sign on and click on sign in option. Use your credentials to log in. So once you signed in, basically it will load all the subscriptions for you. On the left hand side you can see my subscription details here, some default subscriptions, and also some Contours, the training subscriptions that I used for my training. Now you see here filter out, and you can see the subscription that we use as sub_my name. Okay, if you click on this, it will show you all the storage accounts. Click on the subscription, expand the SCA out of the box storage account. You can see the blob containers, and you can also see the disks there behind the storage container. Okay, if you expand this storage container, you see the blob container that I would be using, and I created a container called scenario 4, and you see there are already some zip files there, but I'm going to delete them. Okay, because for testing I want to show you end-to-end with a clean slate. So let me delete those files. So you can delete files from here. You can do a lot of operations. Basically you can manage the complete storage account by using this Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer. This is a very powerful tool. It's like a client tool for your Azure storage management. Okay, now you can also see here, for example, the properties. You can also see all the keys, and you can copy the keys from here if you have access to the Azure Storage Explorer. For example, in reality, customers won't give you the access to Azure portal, but in some cases, if you have access to the Storage Explorer, then you can also copy the keys from here like this, which will be used in the security material. Okay, so you see, remember when creating the security material, I use the key from the portal. You can use the same key here also from the Storage Explorer. So that's what I want to explain here. So two ways, either you can get the key from the portal, or you can also get the key from the Storage Explorer. Okay, so repeat, create a parameter security material and enter the key there and save it and deploy it. So give the name and enter the security parameter and repeat the security parameter and deploy it, then you're good to go. Okay, so this is how you create the blob storage and configure it in SAP CPI. Let's now delve into how you can implement the integration process in SAP CPI. We try to configure the end-to-end integrations API and try to develop it, deploy it, and test it end-to-end. I will now demonstrate how we can create this real-time integration scenario in SAP CPI. To create the integration process, first you need to log into SAP Integration Suite, and you have to log into Integration Flow Editor. So this is the screen of an Integration Flow Editor where you can create different integration flows. First you have to go to the design, and then you need to click the integrations and APIs. This is where we actually create the integration flows. Before creating any iFlows or integration processes, you need to start creating a package. So I already created a package that is called Scenario 4, email.dropbox and Azure Blob. In this package, I would be creating all the artifacts necessary for this scenario. So first you create this package and then click on open the package. So you open the package. Under the package, you can create multiple artifacts. Basically, in integration process, you can create multiple artifacts like, for example, you can create API, data type, functional library, and so on. In this real-time scenario 4, I'll be covering an integration flow and a script collection. So these are the two artifacts that I already created for this scenario. As you can see, so this is the integration flow that I would be explaining you here. And I already created a script collection. So these two are the objects that you would be discussing here. Ignore the name scenario 3, that was a typo. It is at the scenario 4 that I am covering now. So let me go into the integration process. If you open that integration process, and here is the integration process that I would be discussing now here. Okay. As we already discussed, it has one sender system and three receiver systems. Basically, a system here, a participant. You can add a participant by using this participant palette function. You can add a sender or you can add a receiver. So here I added a sender participant that is called vendor email server. Just give it a name, sender email system. Then when you drag a connection between the sender system and the start event, it will open up the adapter list. So in this scenario, we will be using mail adapter. So click on the mail adapter configuration, and here is the mail adapter, and this is the transport protocol that it uses. And for every adapter connection, you need to set the connection parameters, processing parameters, or scheduled parameters based on the adapter type. In the mail adapter, we would be doing the same. If you go to the connection parameters, I have given the name imap@gmail.com and the port, and the proxy type is internet because I'll be using internet proxy. And here the timeout is 3000 milliseconds until what time I need to try to poll the emails. And the production is IMAPs. You can use different production types, but here I have used IMAPs production. And then authentication is encrypted user and password, and this is the credential name. And this name comes from the security material. In SAP CPI, you can create a security material. For example, I will show you where you can create this. If you go to the integration flow editor in a different window, so this is where we do the configurations actually. So you can create security materials, certificates, you can do some connection tests and so on. So I will show you where you can create a security material. Okay, let's close this. Now go to the monitor, and here you can go to integrations and APIs. If you click on this option, you can see different Fury tiles here. So these are all Fury tiles. Here you can see there's something called message security section, and this you have the security material. So if you open this, so I already created the security material for Gmail authentication. If you already practiced scenario 1, 2 and 3, I'm sure you already know what the security material is. If you don't know the security material, how to create this, please watch my scenario 1 or scenario 2. I already explained how to create an email security material. Or I think there is a separate video, a short video, where you can clearly see how you can create a security material for email access. So this is a security material that I already created, and it is already deployed. And this is the name that I would be using in my scenario. For example, I just use the credential name there. Okay. Now go to the processing tab. Here I mention what are the processing parameters, how, for example, how I can read the email and what is the folder and so on. So here you see, I want to read all the emails which are in inbox folder. Okay. And I want to read the email for every 20 milliseconds. Probability seconds, so 20 seconds. And then lock timeout 60 seconds, that is default. And what is the post-processing parameter? For example, do I want to delete the message after I read it, or do I want to archive it, or do I want to mark it as unread or read? So here I want to delete the email after it is read from CPI. And I have kept rest of the settings as it is. And now I go to the scheduler. In the scheduler, I mention how frequently I need to read the email server. So you can schedule on a day level, or you can also do a schedule on a recurrence level. Here I'm scheduling for every 10 seconds between 0 hours to 24 hours and use this time zone. So you can use multiple time zones. I used my GMT, UTC GMT time zone. You can set your own time zone based on the customer location. So these are the settings. So connection, processing and scheduler. Okay. So that is about the sender, pretty easy. From the start event, I used script palette function here. So I have used two script palette functions. One is to extract the attachments. The second one is to generate the file path. You can do both the things in a same script, but here I just want to modularize it. So I extracted the attachments first, then I created a file name for DropBox and azureblob, then I store the output like that. So to create a palette function of script type, basically you need to go transformations. Okay, right. Yeah. So go to transformation. Then here in the script, under script section, you have Groovy script or JavaScript. So I preferred JavaScript in this, so I use JavaScript. Click on the JavaScript, and you can do it here. So, okay. Let's talk about the next step. So we created the sender side configuration, and we already added adapter and including the schedule. Now within the integration process, this is where you try to process the messages and extract them and process the messages. So here I added a first step that is called extract attachments, and the second step is get the file path, and then I use some routers to route the message to the right receiver. Then I have some end message here. So this is where the magic really happens. So to start with, I already added one script palette function. For that, you need to go to this transformation palette function. In this we have script, and there we have Groovy script or JavaScript. So in this scenario, I would be using Groovy script. So I used a Groovy script palette function. Just drag and drop and give it a name. Okay. When you give it a name, basically here, if you select the script palette function, and then you have to go to the processing tab. Here you need to mention the script file where the logic of the script is added. For example, so I already created a script for reference, and which will do the job for us. So you need to give the location of the script file. For this, what I've done is, if you go back to the integration flow editor again and design, as I explained in this package, I created integration flow and a script collection. Okay, so here you can create a script collection. So as I explained here, I already discussed these topics in scenario 3, but I'm just repeating them for scenario 4. Okay, so now go to the script collection. If you go into the script collection here, so I created two scripts. One script is for extract the attachments, and the second script is for get the file name for the Dropbox. So in this extract attachments for email, if you open this, it has a logic in it. So this is completely a Groovy language, and I have implemented some logic by using Groovy script. Okay, now this is very simple. If you already know some Java, then it is very easy to understand this logic, and it's pretty simple function. So you see, I already added some import statements. Basically, I will be using some standard packages from Java and one package from SAP. So these are the imports I would be using in this interface. Okay. Then we have a method called process data, and it returns a message object as a return message, and it also takes a message object as input. Okay, and this message object is the container of the message processing of camel object. When the message goes from different pipelines, different steps, this message object gets updated. We can use this message object to write something into it, and we can also use this object to read something out of it. So this is what we would be doing in the script collection, or in the Groovy script. For example, you see here, so we have the message class message object. So this is the input for this function. So in this function, we do some kind of logic here. For example, what are we doing here? First, we are reading the attachments from the message. So in the message, we have a method called get attachments that returns the list of attachments. Okay, and this is of map of type string and data handler. Okay, so this is a map of attachments. Then what I'm doing here is I'm checking if the attachments is empty or not, which means does the email has any attachments or not. If the attachments are empty, basically there are no attachments, I'm setting the flag of has attachments flag as false. If there are any attachments, I'm setting the flag also true. Okay, apart from setting the flag to true, I am also doing a bit of logic here. So what I'm doing here, I'm looping through the list of the map of attachments by using their each. It's like a for loop. It's a basically lambda programming. So you loop through the list of the map list. Then you try to read every object. Then you try to do something with it. For example, what I'm doing is I'm reading the list of attachments. Then I'm checking the content type of the attachment. If it is a PDF, if it is XML, or if it is zip. Okay. and based on the content type, I'm setting some values to the message further. You see here, I'm setting the message body. Set means you're setting something, get means you're getting something. Okay, it's a setters and getters in Java language. So I'm setting the body, I'm setting a property called extension as a PDF, and I'm setting a property name as attachment name. Okay, basically get attachment name, whatever is the attachment name, I'm just getting the name and I'm storing it in the attachment name. Okay, I'm repeating the same step for XML types and also for zip files. Okay, I will tell you why I need this information in the next steps. So what are you doing here? So first you're getting the attachments, then you're checking the list is empty or not. If it is empty, which means no attachments, you're setting the flag to false. If there are some attachments, then you're setting the flag to true, then you're doing some processing of the attachments. Okay, once you complete all the processing of the messages, then you just return the message object back to the container, back to the runtime. Okay, then you can use this message class in the next steps. Okay, similarly, let me explain the next script. For example, here I'm using another script file called get file name for DropBox. Okay, I created this function to return a unique file name that I can use to store the file to a DropBox and also to Azure Blob. Okay, similarly as a previous script, so we have some imports, the standard imports from SAP, then we have a method, same the process data method, same return and same input message, and then so we have so here you see I'm getting the extension and attachment by using get method. You see it is a get property and it's a get property here, and I'm storing them in the extension variables called extension file name. Okay, then I'm using a random function to create some random text, and I'm storing the text in a variable called ran text. Okay, why I need this random text? Because I want to keep my file name unique, just to avoid a situation where I have the same file names for multiple attachments. Because if you have any conflict, then you won't be able to store the file in the DropBox or Azure Blob, because the files are the same. Just to avoid that scenario, I am creating a random text, then I am concatenating all the values like some folder name, file name, random text and extension to create a unique file path for my DropBox and Azure Blob. And I am storing that file path in a variable called DropBox file name. See, this is a setter property. So I'm just creating a unique property, DropBox file name, and I'm returning the message back to the runtime. Okay, so these two are the two scripts that I would be using in my scenario now. Let me go back to the scenario again. So I attach the first script here, because that is what I'm doing here. The first script, extract attachments. So I'm extracting the attachments here. Then I used a router. Okay, basically the router purpose is it's like if and else condition. If there is something, go in one direction. If there is something else, then go in the other direction. It's like a if else condition. Okay, so in this router, so you see you have one input connection and two output connections. Okay, click on the router here, and in the router you see here, give it a name. Example, I gave it a name, check has attachments flag. Basically I'm checking here if the email has an attachments or not. If here there are two outbound connections, routing connections here, and I am also setting a condition here. So this is how you check the condition in the condition expression. You are checking a property dot hash has attachments flag. Okay, and you remember this is the flag I am setting in the script, and I'm checking if it is a true or not. And dollar symbol means it is a variable actually, which means it's a variable, and I'm checking a dynamic variable has attachments flag is true or not. If it's true, I'm going in one route. If it is false, I'm using in the default route. So you always remember, whenever you are using a router parent function, you need to set a default route. Otherwise, it will give you an error. Okay. So now what's happening? If there are no attachments, I'm sending an email. Let me go back here. If there are no attachments, I'm sending an email to support email server, because I need to inform them that there are no attachments in the email. If there are any attachments, then I'm going to the next script. Okay, so let me go here. In the next script, as I mentioned, similarly like the previous one, in the next script palette function, so I gave it a name, get file path for DropBox, Then actually I'm just attaching the second script that we already discussed. So this is a script that gives me the real file name. Okay. Now after that I added another route, and I want to check one more condition here, because in the requirement the client requested we need to send all the zip files to one receiver, that is Azure Blob, and PDF and XML should be sent to the Azure to the DropBox. And I want to check the condition here. So what is the condition here? Check file type. Here I'm checking the file type, file extension. You see here. So I'm checking the property extension, is it a zip or not. If it is zip, I'm going into the Azure Blob route, this route. If it is anything else, then I'm going to the DropBox route. So a simple condition, if and else condition. Okay, I hope it's clear. Now if it is a zip, right, then I'm sending the file to the Azure Blob. You see, I added 3 receivers. Thus the other receiver is Azure Blob here. Okay. Now let me show you the settings for the Azure Blob. Whenever you draw a connection between the end step to the Azure Blob, it will open up the adapter list. Then you need to select the Azure storage adapter. Then what happens is something magical happens. For example, whenever you select Azure Blob or DropBox adapter, what it does is it actually adds these 2 packages. One is for Azure adapter, the other one is for DropBox adapter. So these are the standard packages that will be added to the integration suite, and it will be deployed automatically. So if you go to the runtime, so if you go to the monitor, so you see here, if you go to the monitor integration content, these 2 adapters are already deployed for you. It is an automatic action that CPI takes on behalf of you. Okay, whenever you select the Azure storage adapter or the DropBox adapter. Okay, this is something interesting. Now, so in the Azure Blob, for example, you now need to do the configuration processing settings. So here I used authentication mechanism as shared access key. Okay, so this is the simplest way to use Azure Blob. And if you have centralized Azure ADD, Azure Active Directory, AAD, then you can go for a SAS token. But if you want to manipulate the token by using internal SAP parameters, then you can use dynamic authentication setting. But to keep the thing simple, I used a shared access key. Okay. Then the next thing is Azure Blob. This is a key alias. Basically, this is the key that I created in the security material. Let me go back to the security material again. For example, if you go to the overview of the monitoring, so if you go to the security material, okay, then here you can create basically a secure parameter. Okay, this is what you need to create and secure parameter, and then you can create the security key here. Okay, I already created it for you, and then once you deploy it, and you get the status as deployed. So I'll be using the same thing here. Okay, so here, very simple. Now it's a default timeout, milliseconds. Now the processing is important. In the processing, I want to upload a blob. Okay, basically what is a blob? Azure is a cloud hyperscaler where we can do all the cloud operations there. Azure Blob is one of the artifacts or kind of object that Azure offers, where we can store different types of digital content like files, images, videos, and all different kind of digital content. So in this scenario, we will be loading the zip files in the Azure Blob container, and you can use basically Azure has blob storage, file storage, table storage, and queue storage. I will discuss these concepts in a later scenario, but right now I would be using Azure Blob storage to store the zip files to the Azure Blob. Okay, here the operation is basically I will be uploading the zip files to the blob, and here I have a storage account. Basically in a separate video I already explained how we can create how we can integrate Azure Blob to SAP CPI. There I already explained what is the storage account and all. So this is the storage account name that you need to place, and the container name, and here this is important. So this is a dynamic parameter, and you remember DropBox file name, and this is the unique file path that I derived in the second Groovy script. So I would be using the same parameter here. Okay, and I can actually use overwrite, ignore, fail. How do you want to handle the blob? Here I want to overwrite the file. Okay, and remaining parameters, nothing changes. I just kept the default parameters as it is. So this is a simple configuration of Azure Blob integration, and I really liked Azure Blob adapter because it's straightforward. Before this Azure Blob existing, it was very tough for us to integrate Azure with CPI, but now with this adapter, life is pretty simple. Okay, very easy for us. So you just set these settings and you're ready to do the integration with Azure Blob. Okay. And in the second round, so basically I would be doing the DropBox integration. So when you drag a connection with this end step to the Azure, the DropBox receiver system, it will open the Azure, the DropBox adapter. So you need to select the DropBox, and it would be using HTTPS protocol internally. And in the connection, I would be using a authentication credential that I already created in the security material. Okay, so basically I already created here, and this is actually basically you will create authentication credential, authorization code. Basically you need to create this OAuth2 authorization code. Okay, so I just used the same thing here, basically here. Then in the processing, like we discussed in the scenario 3, I will be uploading the file, and then I will be using the file path that I derived in the script 2, and I want to overwrite the file, and I want to mute. Basically mute indicates, do you want to inform the DropBox user with a notification whenever you upload something, or you want to mute that notification? I just want to mute to reduce the noise at the mute notification level. And I also kept the response format as JSON because that's more understandable and readable. I just kept the response as JSON. Okay, and this is the configuration. And finally, as you know, the third receiver for the support email system, I have used an email adapter that uses a receiver side because I'm sending the email to the email server, which means I would be using SMTP protocol here. And in the connection, same. I need to give an address. This is different now because this is SMTP, and in sender it is IMAP. And then same kind of configuration, and I will be using the same security material because that is the same authentication that I will be using to read and write the emails. Okay. And in the processing, I just kept it very simple. I have used a from address, a to address, and some subject and email body. Ideally, in a customer real-time interface, you also need to parameterize with these parameters and even the body and subject with a dynamic content. Okay, so you need to do a variable substitution, like I use the file name and other things. So to keep it simple, I just use the static information here. Okay, in the security there's nothing, so we just need to fill in connection and processing. Then we are done with the receiver email adapter. So what we have done, so we have done the sender email configuration, and we have configured the receiver side, Azure adapter, DropBox adapter, and receiver email adapter, and we added 2 scripts for extracting the attachments, getting the file path, and we have used 2 routers to route the message to the right channel. So this is the implementation of the real-time scenario 4. Now what I will do is I will try to save it, and then I will deploy it to the runtime. Once you click on the deploy, then it will be deployed and it will be started in the CPI runtime engine. Okay, so now it's not deployed yet, so it will be deployed. See, it's not deployed and it is started. Now let's look at the testing and the deployment process. Let me go back to the monitor and click on the integrations and APIs. Here in the Fury apps, you can see we have 4 started message integration content. The first one is integration flow, we have DropBox, we have Azure storage, and we have the script collection. So click on the integration process, you can see different details here, endpoint, status details, and so on. And we have also DropBox, Azure storage, and script collection here. Everything is deployed on the tenant. So what I'm going to do now is, for example, I'm going to send 4 different emails to the email server. One is with PDF, the second one is with XML, the third one is zip, and fourth one is no attachment. Okay, let me log into my Gmail account. let me go to the integration. Let me go home, go to the integration process, and if you open the sender email adapter configuration, let me clean up the emails. I'm going to delete everything just to start from clean slate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send 4 emails: test 1 PDF, test 2 XML, test 3 zip file, test 4 no attachment. What should happen is this email account should get emails and they should get deleted, because if you remember, in the sender email adapter we have set delete email after post processing. So it should delete the email once the email is read. Okay, so let me send some emails from my other account with all the attachments. So we're gonna test 4 test cases: test 1, test 2, test 3, and test 4. Okay, so let me first send a PDF email with an attachment. So I'm sending that now. PDF test 1. You see, yeah, okay. First I sent an XML test 1. So you see there's an attachment and it's in test 1 with XML attachment. Now I'm going to do the test 2 second email with PDF attachment. So I'm going to send an email from my another account. My expectation is that this email gets deleted and the second one should come in. You see now, PDF test 2, it has a PDF attachment. Now in the test 3, I'm going to send a zip file. Okay, let me send the zip file email from my other account. Yeah, you see, I received a third email, test 3. Now I'm going to test the last case where I'm not going to send any attachment in the email. Basically, this is a error email that should go to the support executives. So I'm sending it now. Okay, now I send the 4th email, test 4, no attachment. Okay, so we have tested 4 cases now. So we received 4 emails and we tested 4 cases. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the monitoring of CPI and I'm going to see all the messages and monitor them, what is happening in SAP CPI. Okay, let me go back to the CPI. So now I refresh the email, there are no emails, everything is read and deleted. Let me go back to the CPI monitoring. You see, if you go back to the monitoring, in the message processing section, we have 5 artifacts. You see 5 all completed, everything is processed. Now my expectation is that I have sent a PDF and XML. Basically these 2 emails should go to the DropBox, and I have sent a zip file, it should go to the Azure Blob, and the third email should be sent to the service provider, the support team. Okay, let me log into the DropBox, close here and go to the folder outoftheboxea and click on the docs. You see I had some old emails now, old attachments. Maybe I'll just sort it by the date. So basically today is 1st November. You see I have 2 files. You see there are 2 files from today, basically invoice sample PDF and sample invoice XML. So it stored 2 files. So basically CPI has sent 2 files to DropBox, which is good. So basically my first and second tests are successfully done. I can see the files in the DropBox. Now I'm going back to the Azure Blob. Basically I want to see a zip file there. Okay, that's my expectation. Let me log into the portal.azure.com. Let me go to my storage account, click on the storage account. Here you see go to the containers, and I have the container scenario 4. Open that and go to the folder. You see I have the zip file here, and zip file you can download it, you can view it, you can do whatever you want to do from the browser, or you can do the same thing for Azure Storage Explorer. Okay, so this is on the 1st November as well, just now. Okay, you can also download it here. You can also do different versions. You can do a lot of stuff here. But now I want to do the fourth case where I want to see the sample email to my support team, right? Because I have sent one email with no attachments. Let me log into the other support email. Now you see I received an email which I already read in my phone. It's 2 minutes ago and it has a subject. There are no invoices found in the email. Please check and confirm. So, which means our integration process is successfully tested, and so we have sent some emails, and we have received some files in Blob storage and Azure storage, and also in the receiver email. We successfully completed. But what I want to say is, whatever you saw is very simple because watching is simple. But what I suggest is, spend some time and try to watch this video, whole through video once, and try to understand the whole concept, and then get a sample SAP CPI trail account, then practice the scenario. I'm sure it's not easy, but once you practice step by step, then I'm sure you can really achieve this successful end-to-end integration, and you can test it end-to-end successfully. But while development and testing, you can get a lot of technical issues like some security issues, some connectivity issues, and some certificate issues, and so on. What I suggest is go to Google or go to our SDN, our SAP forums, and try to search for the answers and try to fix it, because that is a real time. Once you start fixing the issues, then you will try to learn more in detail and more facts there. I think this will help in the interview, and this will also help in the real time when you start working on the real job or real integrations. So I wish you all the best, and I hope you like the scenario. I know it's a bit lengthy, but next time I'll try to make it short by cutting the videos. But I want to give you the real-time feeling, how you should attack an integration development, how we should design it, and how we should develop it, and how we should test it. Hope it makes sense now, and I hope you really like the video, and I hope you really learned something out of it. And if you like the video, always give it a like, subscribe to my channel, share the video with other friends and colleagues, because that keeps me get going, and also it gives me some energy. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for watching.